I am Indogene Doctor, and I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about the Bullies of Blackwell Academy, because let's be honest here, there's a shit ton of them. They are very present in both games, so let's talk about them. We have Logan and his jock friends, Victoria Chase and her posse, Drew North, Nathan Prescott, and definitely not to forget the many people who are harassing and bullying poor Kate Marsh. So many bullies. You can categorize a few of the adults as bullies as well, but I am however not going to do that, because in my optic, if you're an adult and you're bullying kids, you're just not a bully, you're a monster and an asshat, and just bye Felicia or whatever. This whole thing is going to be a bit one-sided, because obviously it's my opinion on who I find to be the worst bully, but just please weigh in the comment section. Let's start a debate, it's what it's for. I also want to real quick point out, I am not making excuses for any of these bullies, because in my opinion, if you are capable of feeling empathy, you will just never have a valid reason to bully anyone, in my opinion. Anyways, I am going to make a top 3 of bullies out of the more prominent ones in the games, so let's start at the very bottom at number 3, where I have put Drew North. And Drew is a popular jock and senior, an old school run-of-the-mill kind of bully. He's slightly violent to the point where he'll push Nathan around. He uses physical superiority as a weapon, threatening body language, and he is verbally abusive. And in Drew's case, there are 2 different reasons as to why he's bullying Nathan. And it's not even because Nathan is exceptionally rude, and oh, is he ever. But no, that's not why. Drew's main reason for bullying Nathan is that Nathan's dad has fired his dad, something that has left his family in complete financial ruin. Drew's dad at this point is not just jobless, he's also homeless, which is also why Drew's younger brother Mikey is staying illegally with him in his dorm room at school. As for the other reason Drew has to bully Nathan, that's because Nathan's dad has somehow seen to it to put his son in the school football team, something that Nathan has in no way earned, whereas Drew is a star player on that team. He's so good, in fact, that he has gotten himself a scholarship to go to college, so Drew deserves to be on that team. Nathan does not. Nathan doesn't even want to be there, and this very visibly angers Drew. Drew might even be jealous, we don't know this, but he's very visibly angry. And the thing is, Drew is taking all of that anger and he's aiming it not straight at the real culprit, who would be Nathan's dad. No, he's aiming it straight at the son, straight at Nathan. And no, that's not fair. That is not fair to Nathan, but it is what's going on. Drew is being a huge bully to Nathan because of Nathan's dad. Well, and since this is set in America, you could probably also talk a bit about a general frustration with a system where there's such a huge difference between black and white, rich and poor. I'm not going to talk about it, but if you want to, just please go for it in the comment section. As for redeeming qualities, I see 2. One of them being that Drew is all about family. He's very protective of younger brother Mikey, and he's doing his very best to try to help the family get back on its feet financially. Yes, he's a drug dealer. Yes, he steals from a drug dealer. But that's only because he's trying his very best to help the family stay above water. And another redeeming quality would be that we're not really under the impression that Drew is someone who normally bullies people. He's bullying Nathan, no question about that, but he's bullying him because he regards him as someone who has injured his family, and then we're straight back at the family thing again. We also have a lot of people saying good things about him, even though they are in no way obligated to. We have Steph, captain of the Geek Squad. She likes him. I would like to think that counts for something. We also have Frank saying that he's a good guy. And let's be honest here, Frank knows a bad guy when he sees one because he hangs out with them all the time. They're his friends. And then we have the biggest stamp of approval you can get here, Samuel the groundskeeper. Who we know is a great judge of character. About Drew, he says that he has a great heart with a lot of love and no place for fear. So I would like to think that ultimately Drew is a pretty okay guy. I would also like to think that that's a redeeming quality. At second place for Worst Bully of Blackwell Academy, I have put Nathan Prescott. Social outcast gone popular force of power within a few years of his high school career. And listen, I am totally aware of the fact that a lot of you won't agree with me on this one. And that's okay. You would want me to put him as number 1, but I just simply can't do that because I had to contemplate whether or not I could even put him on my list. Why? Because most of what Nathan does not even fit into the bullying column because it's not bullying. It's straight up illegal and sometimes borderline insane. However, I do need him on the list because he's still a huge bully, so he's getting number 2. That's the best I can do, you guys. So, what kind of bully is Nathan? Well, first off, he is extremely violent. I mean, this guy has gone completely off the rails. He's verbally abusive and he's a cyberbully. You know, he will leave you threatening anonymous text. And he's the kind of guy who will straight up break into your dorm room and leave you serial killer-esque gifts. That's the kind of bully Nathan Prescott is. As to why Nathan is bullying people, I'm gonna go with the more obvious one first, which would be that it's simply just a self-defense mechanism. You know, it's not all that uncommon that if you have been bullied early on in your life, that you will yourself later on become the bully, because you cannot bully the bully. And we see Nathan being bullied by Drew North in Before the Storm, and it's really not so much of a reach to think that he has been bullied by others as well because of his family name, because he's incredibly rude, or because he's just really socially awkward. So yeah, I'm definitely calling self-defense mechanism on this one. Another reason could definitely be the enormous pressure Nathan's dad is putting on him to live up to the Prescott name. And oh, it's a mighty powerful one in Acadia Bay. Sure, a lot of people hate them, but that doesn't change the fact that they are very powerful. They practically own the entire place. So asking Nathan to live up to the family name is actually asking Nathan to be powerful. But Nathan is anything but. He is socially awkward. No one likes him. He's being bullied. So I personally think that at some point in his life, Nathan thought, you know, if I can't make people like me or respect me, at least I can make them fear me. And so he did. As for redeeming qualities, you know, I kind of had a hard time with this one because we are dealing with a guy who has a level of awfulness in him that is just ridiculous at times, okay? But I did manage to find 2. Number 1, in Before the Storm, he's not a complete douchebag. Now, he really isn't. He is rude, sure, but he's not bully rude. He is, I'm uncomfortable with the entire world rude. And you know what? I can absolutely forgive him for that one. Also, when he finally warms up to Samantha, that rudeness seems to kind of disappear, at least around her. And you know, he's happy around her, he's nice to her, and when we overhear a conversation between the two of them in the hospital, he seems to genuinely care about her. We also get this feeling when we watch the outro of the game. So yeah, I'm definitely giving him this one. Especially because we're dealing with a guy with so few positive traits to his entire character. So yes, this is a redeeming quality. A second redeeming quality is something I wasn't quite sure whether or not to add, but you know what? I'm adding it and I stand 100% behind it. It's Nathan's mental illness. Now, we don't know exactly what his diagnosis is, but we can definitely make some educated guesses, because in Life is Strange, we go through his room, we go through his murder bunker, and we go through his locker at the school swimming pool, and we find some stuff. We find some antipsychotic medication, you know, some prescription medication, of a brand that are commonly used to treat bipolar disorder and or schizophrenia. Both are illnesses that can distort the way you see, hear, or feel the world at times. On top of that, we also find a letter from a former psychiatrist saying that Nathan is disconnected from reality. And now that's really saying something, isn't it? It puts everything into question we know about Nathan actually, because was he disconnected all the time? Was he disconnected some of the time? Was he even aware what he was doing half the time? And if he wasn't, can we even hold him accountable for his actions? There's just a lot of questions here. And I'm not starting a debate on mental illness. If you want to, the comment section is yours. But I am listing this under redeeming qualities for Nathan because there's just too many unknowns here. And that, people, is it for Nathan. On first place for worst bully at Blackwell Academy, we find Victoria Chase, the queen bitch of the school and, in my opinion, the worst bully of the entire bunch. Now, this has something to do not so much with the things she does, but with why she does them, and with how she's seriously lacking in the redeeming qualities department. But I am getting a little ahead of myself here, and I will return to this a little later on. So, what kind of bully is Victoria? Well, she's definitely a very in-your-face kind of bully, but she also won't shy away from talking trash behind your back or spreading lies about you. There's also a lot of nasty graffiti around school regarding especially Rachel Amber that may or may not come from Victoria. She's also a cyberbully. She will bully you on text, and even though we are never quite sure about whether or not Victoria shot the video of Kate Marsh, we do know that she's been sharing it. We also see her write the link down on a bathroom mirror. Now, I would also really love to call Victoria a violent bully because she tries to drug Rachel Amber in before the storm, something I absolutely regard as a violent act. But the thing is, it's not bullying, it's illegal. She kinda enters Nathan Prescott land on that one. So I guess I can't call her a violent bully, but I definitely can and will call her a slightly violent human being. So that's the kind of bully Victoria Chase is. Very verbally vicious and a complete fucking snake. As for why Victoria is bullying people, well, it's just not as clear-cut as it is with Drew and Nathan. With the boys it was fairly obvious why they were bullying people, but with Victoria it just isn't. One reason for this is that she's just not talking about it, and another reason is that we just don't have the same amount of background info about it that we have on the boys. All we really know about her background is that her parents are very well off and run an art gallery called the Chase Space. Everything else we know about Victoria we learned from talking to her in-game or by talking to other people about her in-game. So if we really want to know what makes Victoria tick, why she's bullying people, we kind of have to dig into her. So I found these two different reasons as to why I believe she's bullying people. And the first one is that Victoria is an elitist. Now, being an elitist doesn't naturally make you a bad person, or a horrible person. This is something Victoria very actively chooses to be. She chooses to be a horrible person. But the thing is, she does regard herself as being part of the school elite. You know, she's part of the Vortex Club, and we see her bully, lash out at, and or mistreat anyone who's not in her social group. Now, the second reason she's bullying people is that she can't handle other people being better at something that she wants to be the best at. We see this with Rachel Amber, and we see it with Max. Now, with Rachel, it has something to do with social status. You know, when Rachel is still around, she's at the very top of the social ladder. She's Miss Popular. Everybody loves her. Except for Victoria. She hates her because she wants to be in her place. And if we can just pretend not to be stupid for a second here, we know that all the nasty graffiti about Rachel all over campus, well, it comes from Victoria. Victoria never straight up bullies Rachel. She doesn't bully her straight to her face, but she is bullying her. Now, with Max, it has something to do with Victoria's field of expertise, if you will, photography. And Max is the better photographer. Mark Jefferson favors Max, and Max will also go on to win the Everyday Heroes contest. So Victoria dislikes her with a vengeance and bullies her. Now, in my personal opinion, these two reasons for bullying people, I think, quite frankly, that they come from a place of insecurity and a certain level of low self-esteem. As for redeeming qualities, this isn't gonna take long because Victoria doesn't have any. Listen, I know I'm gonna get into some deep trouble with some of you guys for saying this. It's just I can't find any, and I've really been looking, I really have. And I know some of you are gonna point out three things to me. You're gonna say, hey, at least she's nice to Nathan, and hey, at least she helped Taylor through a tough time when her mom had back surgery, and hey, at least she felt really bad about being part of the reason why Kate tried to or did commit suicide. And listen, I did think about all of these three things. I did ponder them, but at the end of the day, I just can't regard any of those as a redeeming quality. I just can't. As for Nathan, you know, we have already established that Victoria is an elitist. So if Nathan hadn't been loaded, if Nathan hadn't been the little prince of Arcadia Bay, do you honestly believe that she would give a shit about him? She wouldn't, because he is weird. And as for Taylor, okay, Okay, so Victoria was nice to her for a change, but she cancels out that niceness by being so mean to both Taylor and Courtney all the time, by calling them minions, by calling them bitches, by being so thoroughly aggressive towards them every time we see her with them. And as for Kate, you know what? You feeling bad about being part of the reason why someone tries to kill themselves isn't a redeeming quality. It's just a sign that you're not a psychopath. And you do not get any points or any gold stars for not being a psychopath. That's not how things work. Also, you know, Victoria didn't feel so bad that she didn't go out the same night to further her own agenda by blackmailing or trying to blackmail Mike Jefferson into letting her win the Everyday Heroes contest. That's how bad she felt. So no, I don't see any redeeming qualities in Victoria. I just don't. Well, so here you have it. My number one pick for worst bully of Blackwell Academy, Victoria Chase. It's just her reasons for being, for being a bully makes me so angry. And her complete lack of redeeming qualities makes me even angrier. So here you have it, my top 3 of worst bullies of Blackwell Academy. Now, I would love to hear what you think about the whole thing. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with it? And how would your list look like?